Okay. Evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. I've got Bill Tucker with me. I'll tell you how I've met Bill, but I'll just say as a short introduction, over the past 15 years and more, Bill has been helping thousands of women and men resolve a multitude of relationship issues that were sabotaging their relationships, whether they be relationships with partners, friends, family members, work colleagues, neighbours. He also helps people understand, unravel, and resolve health symptoms connected to specific relationship issues. Bill also specialises in helping women over 40 resolve the blocks that stop them from meeting a good man. And you can find out more about Bill, and his website is datinginsidesecrets.com. So www.datinginsidesecrets.com. And I'll put that on the link afterwards anyway. So come back to you and tell you how I met Bill. And that was through lovely Heidi that I did a talk with quite a while ago, actually. But she's a homeopathy, but she actually found out about you somehow, all to do with illness symptoms. And then our lovely friend Joe Hayes, he came along to one of your weekends and said to me, I'd really, love it. And I did. I came along to one of your weekends more around illness. But through that, I found out that you deal a lot with relationships. So how did you, if you could just tell us how you got into that area in the first place, Bill?
Well, there's lots of people, Jackie, and thank you for inviting me. It's awesome. And I love your colour. It's great. It's always bright. Love it.
Thank you. I put my Christmas one.
All right. That's cool. Dear, because you're in the New Forest. It's great.
Yeah.
I love being in the New Forest, by the way. Absolutely.
Oh, it's lovely. Yeah. Yeah, you've been down here quite a lot lately, haven't you? So it's...
And I'm down again on Saturday
I
night.
know. Yeah, I can't make that one. I'm so disappointed because it was so interesting the last time, but I'll say more about that as we go on. But yeah, just really interested to know how you ever got into that, where you can help people with this, because
Sure.
it is a huge subject and it's also things that we don't talk about a lot.
Yeah. I really struggled with my own relationships, and I could never make sense of them. And since I was a little kid, tiny little kid, I've been one of these little brats who always asked the question, why? And I still ask the question, why? So every time someone says something to me or tells me to do something or whatever, the question is why? Because it's always been really important for me to understand things, just super important. And for me, growing up the way I did, it wasn't, say, the happiest childhood. Then it's about understanding people. And then when I went to school, I was a dyslexic dunce all the way through school. And for me, I had to understand the teachers. And I learned that the teachers who respected me, I respected back.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I learned a lot through school. And not the way other people do, but hey-ho. And then I ended up in many relationships. And I always said from a really young child, and I remember having a little tantrum, I must have been about 6 or thereabouts. And I remember stamping my feet for some reason and saying, I'm never, ever going to get married. I'm never, ever going to settle down. If this is what it's like, I'm not interested. And then through my life, I've said, I'm never going to get married till 30, then 40, 50, and 60. Now I have to get to 70. And it's just the way I've been. Now, I've been in and out of lots of relationships, don't get me wrong, I met some lovely people, but it's just not my thing. Now, the benefit of living as I have is that I spend a lot of time on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I spend a lot of time on reflection. I spend a lot of time thinking about all this sort of stuff. So, but when it came to health issues, I ended up into the road, 20 years addictions, drugs, alcohol, all that sort of stuff, ending up just throwing everything away. So I remember thinking back then, this is over 25 years ago, when I got myself straight. I remember thinking there must be more to relationships and health, because I was seriously depressed, suicidal at the time, chronic fatigue, and all sorts of stuff going on that I couldn't understand and no one else could understand. So, I just set it out that I had to find out how to do this. And I knew, first of all, I had to understand energy. One, to sort of get my life back in its feet again, because it was impossible by any material means. So I started studying energy, and thankfully I met some good people who made it possible for me to train with some of the best teachers with energy, and then relationships, and then health. And I've been as far away as Australia and Austria, and different places. So I'm really fortunate. And for me, that's specific, and I mean specific connection between our relationship issues and health issues is quite stunning. So when I'm working with people one-to-one or in groups or workshops, then I'm asking the questions from the specific symptom or diagnosis, if they're in the medical system, back to find a specific conflict. And every organ's got, it's telling me a different story. My job is to find the specific connected to that issue. Say like eczema, for instance, there's a separation issue straight away. And depending on the part of the body, the time frame, and then we can work out what the cause is, why the symptoms, is that a healing symptom, is it chronic, and then you can work back from there to help someone understand it and to either diminish the symptoms or to resolve it. So that's the short story.
Incredible. So now you would class yourself as a relationship coach, and you choose to say if a lady's over 40.
For the dating
For
specifically.
the dating, yeah. But that can be so related to health, because that's where the obstacles can be, isn't it? For us because we overthink as well about what people think of us, probably.
The woman's identity is really important to her.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's more his status, as in the house, the car, the job, the whatever it is, or his standing. But for a woman, her identity is really important. For a feminine woman.
Yes.
A masculine woman, they'll behave a bit more like a man. And so for a woman, her identity is really about, who am I? And where do I fit in? Where do I belong? It's about, how do other women perceive her? How does a mother perceive her, or daughters, or children, or partner, whoever else? So identity is really, really important to a woman. To a masculine man, identity is not important at all. The status is, his identity is not. So we're really a different species. I reckon God had a really good laugh putting us together. I think that was his last laugh. God, let's see them sort this one out. Because it's like we're a different species sometimes, because we definitely have different perceptions.
When you said masculine woman, then what do you mean by that?
A masculine woman would be the same as a masculine man, more territorial. So
And that's just if you were like a tomboy at school, or
could have been. And really a tomboy, or a girl who's born feminine, to become more tomboyish or more masculine, whatever. There's been specific conflicts that have happened that's caused them to become, because it changes the hormone level, and I don't want to get into it, but it just changes the balance in the masculine and feminine. There's no right or wrong. It's just.
no, that's another good question when you say about right and wrong, because we do judge ourselves as right or wrong, good or bad.
Doesn't exist. That's the old judgment story.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how much judgment crucifies people.
Yeah.
Crucifies them. Let me tell you the deadly trio in relationships. Expectation, which almost always leads to disappointment.
Yes.
Which always leads to judgment. So whether that's the expectation we have of ourselves, the expectation we have of other people, or the expectation they have of us. The next one along the line is disappointment. And the next one along the line is judgment. And then when we're in judgment, then we're back to expectation again. Because you didn't meet my expectation. And it crucifies relationships. I mean, crucifies them. Because if it wasn't for expectation, disappointment, judgment, there'd be no conflict. It's only because someone didn't meet our perceived expectation. And
it's a massive subject.
This is the stuff they should be teaching in school.
Yes.
Really, there's two things they don't teach us about in school, strangely enough. Is one, how to have good relationships with ourselves, with our source and other people. And two, how to make money.
Yes.
It's the two most important things in life.
Yes.
Because they have a knock-on effect on our health. Either way around, it's guaranteed. So relationships are really confusing because, and this is why I say to people, cut yourself some slack. Just give yourself a break here because no one teaches us this stuff. And it's really confusing. And then you got all these opinions and these thoughts and everything else. And it's just like, it's a minefield. But our body always talks to us in a really specific way by our symptoms. And once you understand the language and what the body's saying, it just makes sense. Then you can help someone understand it and unravel it.
You say about school, that just reminded me, you said you studied the teachers. I mean, I didn't. I was in fear, well, a bit of fear of the teachers and police as well. I mean, I had an unreasonable fear of police for some reason, so it's very odd, isn't it? Because that's a relationship as well, authority, isn't it?
Slightly.
I mean, I can't say that would fear me now. Well, depending on the situation. But yeah, definitely there was an aspect of fear around, you had to do what you were told.
Yeah. You were obviously a good girl then, Jackie.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I didn't understand you people in school. I just didn't get it.
No. Well, we've had quite a few questions, obviously, because where you're talking and where you've already mentioned about money, I mean, that can be one of the biggest conflicts I would have thought in a relationship, especially initially in an early part of a relationship. I don't know what you think around money, Bill.
Absolutely. Because whether we like it or not, we live in a material world to whatever degree. For me, there's two paths in life. There's one path where someone wants to achieve in whatever way, materially or whatever for themselves. Okay, that's one path. The other path is a simple life. The majority of people choose this material life for whatever reason. There's no right or wrong. It's just how it is. But this material life, it's got wheels and it can take you further than you're comfortable. Or when life circumstances just take a twist or a turn, or a relationship breaks up or something else happens, some unforeseen circumstance, then that's tough, really, really tough. And then it cripples relationships because sooner or later the blame's going to come out. Judgment's going to come out. And it's really hard to have that spark you had with someone when you're struggling to keep your head above water. Now, this, when we get caught out in life, as it's life. And when we get caught out, that can cause really specific ailments. It can cause people to retain water. Partly kidneys will retain water. And it's almost like that fear of going under, struggling to keep your head above water, feeling all alone, feeling pushed out, feeling isolated. And that is a major issue. One, for feeling uncomfortable, but two, if there are any healing symptoms in the body at the same time, that's going to amplify the symptoms. It's going to amplify pain. So it's a really big deal in life. And this could be any time you feel pushed out, left out, excluded. Think of all the nonsense, what happened during all the really, talking about authority, all the stuff that happened there with not being allowed to see your loved ones and your old folks and people in homes, and that was the biggest crime against humanity in our lifetime. And since the war times, that was a crime against humanity, because human beings need contact. It's just super, super, super important. And when the worst crime you can commit against another human being is to isolate them, to make them feel alone, to exclude them, because I really feel that aloneness is the biggest disease on the planet, bar none.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And this is why it's great with all the weight groups and the work that you're doing and everyone else, Jackie, connecting people together. It's so beautiful for your health, for your peace of mind and everything else. So if you're going that pathway where you're stretching and achieving, that's okay as long as it's going good.
Yeah.
But if you need to fall back on, it's really tough. Now, I feel that maybe more people would, if they could go back in time and choose, they would choose a simple life.
Mm.
It's easier, much easier. But we live in a society that wants, and that's okay, I like my Macs, and I like a new Mac, and I like my motorbikes, and I like stuff. And it's okay wanting, but sometimes we're pulled or pushed in different directions, and that's going to create havoc in a relationship, just circumstantial stuff. So a fat wallet resolves a lot of conflicts.
So is there a resolve around that then? Have you had to do many relationship issues around that where you can help them?
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, with all of this stuff, sometimes in life, lots of times in life, we can't change the circumstances. We certainly can't change other people. That ain't going to happen. No one likes anyone trying to change us. And everyone would say, well, if they just got their act together, I'd be okay. If they changed, I'd be all right. Unfortunately, if it was that way, then it's just impossible to work. So all the change comes from ourselves. Everything comes from within, because life is an inside job. Everything's an inside job. And it's how we feel about the circumstances, the situation. So whenever there's stuff going on that we can't change, the question always is, can I change this situation? Yes or no? Yes, do it. No. Can I soften how I feel about what's going on? Because that's the key, because we have to diminish how we feel. Otherwise, that's the unconscious energy we are pushing out. We'll just get more of the same.
Yeah.
It's lousy, sucks.
The pressure we put on ourselves for things, ridiculous. If we could have a simpler life, I love Ho'oponopono, and that's taking 100% responsibility for self.
Yeah, totally. And this is stuff that society forgets sometimes. You don't have to look too far to hear of someone in the blaming game. You don't have to go too far. I've just been working with a client half an hour ago, and my last one, and I love working with regular clients, because whether they were before, they certainly end up being 100% responsible for everything that happens in their life.
Oh, amazing.
A joy to work with, a joy to be with, because stuff happens. Absolutely, we get caught unawares. But if we're stuck in the blaming game, man, it's tough, really tough. And unfortunately, that's the energy we send out, isn't it, Jackie?
And it's a cycle. Yeah.
Hard, really hard. So, and relationships are confusing enough anyway, because in relationships, we need 4 things. We need communication, we need trust, passion. For some people, we can do without the passion, but if there's no open and honest communication, there's no trust. If there's no trust, there's no communication. And respect is really big in relationships, really big. And when we lose respect for the people we're with, that's hard, really hard. But really, things like Ho'oponopono, which is awesome, it helps us to come into our heart, to be responsible for how we feel and deal with that. and to soften that for ourselves. And also, we can't heal ourselves without healing other people at the same time. It just can't be done.
It's exactly what it does. Yeah. Yeah, there's no blame and no shame, because you know that if you're in it, you're responsible. If you're willing to take the 100%.
I'm not.
But yeah, the most important relationship in your entire life is what?
With myself and my source.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because when I did the happiness and Ho'oponopono course, and I asked people to write down the 5 most important relationships to them, nobody put themselves in that first 5.
Sad.
Yeah, because we just don't even consider. We've always been brought up to think of others. That's going outside of ourselves.
It's the old, I'm not knocking anyone's faith here, but it's the old church, and it's the old school, and it's the old family stuff, and it's all control, and it's been bad to be selfish. But selfish just means putting self first.
Yes.
And if we don't put self first, we've nothing to give. Because sooner or later we're going to break, or we're going to get resentful. And if we get angry and resentful for a long enough time, we're heading along the road of a colon issue, big issue. So we're willing to let that stuff go.
That's what I've had a few questions around that. The 3 things: IBS, Crohn's, and diverticulitis. Are they all very similar?
The Crohn's is just at the end of the small intestine, and the Crohn's is in the large intestine, and the diverticulitis, or I can never say, is like, so let's go through 3 of them and how they tie into relationships, because the conflict is indigestible anger. And it doesn't mean to say that that person's an angry person. It just means that they're pushing it down rather than expressing how they feel. Generally speaking, masculine men don't really get digestive issues. Feminine men and feminine women are more susceptible to digestive issues than men because they push it down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of women would say, well, it's the men that give me the digestive issues. That may be true, but they're pushing it down. Now, that anger, that indigestible anger, with a sense of lack. And that lack could be love, it could be respect, it could be money, it could be anything at all. Always a sense of lack. As in, in nature, it would be, the lack would be, I can't get the food. And I'm angry because I can't get the food, or someone else took the food from my mouth, literally.
Mm-hmm.
That sense of lack could be, that food could be transposed to contract, a job, a relationship, a home, whatever it is, or one of the siblings are getting more than me, or I've been treated unfairly at work, or someone else is getting what should be mine. And there's also always fear in there with that anger, because it's the fear of loss, but really it's a sense of lack. So we have to push that down. And what happens is the small intestine, the large intestine, it will produce extra cells to digest those indigestible morsels, so to speak, in nature. So it'll start a growth over time. Sometimes it takes months, years. And this is why it's so important to understand this stuff. So if we're in conflict with anyone, that we can resolve it sooner rather than later, so we can preempt any potential symptoms and try and diminish how we feel about it. So with the Crohn's type stuff and the symptoms, I'm not going to get into the symptoms. We all know what symptoms are. I don't have to be graphic. So, and with the IBS, now what happens is initially those first symptoms, the first time I had those symptoms with Crohn's or the IBS, whatever the symptoms were, because they're slightly different for different people, that was actually a healing symptom, strangely enough, the first time they had it.
Right.
But when that conflict keeps going on and it's and that anger they have to push down, that sense of lack, you're not giving me what I need, or I can't get what I need, then eventually those symptoms become chronic. And then what happens is we just meet that person, be in that situation, go to work, or whatever it is, we get triggered every single time. And then you go straight to the symptoms. So they're really confusing if you don't understand what they're about. So the key is to find the conflicts where we get triggered and then checking the time frame of the symptoms, how often, when did they start, when did they go away, when they come back, and when was the first time, and so on. Then we can sort of track this line to see the people, places, and things in the mix, and where we can diminish how we feel about it. Just to give the digestive system a rest. The diverticulitis is eventually, when we're running out of that chronic stuff, healing, conflict, cell growth, cell breakdown, cell growth, cell breakdown, with the symptoms that go along with it, then develop a pouch on the outside, the inside of the intestine, but it's almost like a hernia type thing. Develop a little pouch in there, and really painful and aggravating. So it's really about helping people resolve the conflict. But first, to resolve the conflict, we have to understand what the cause was in the first place and what the tracks and triggers are from then on. For anything chronic, it's tracks and triggers.
And I know when I talked to you about my son's ankle the other day, where he had a very bad swollen, bruised ankle, and it's better now, really good.
Brilliant.
Yeah, very quickly, considering, because someone said at the least, 6 weeks, someone said up to 11 weeks. So it was 3 weeks that he had it.
That's great.
Yeah, very good. But just talking to you about that, it was interesting to, what was I going to say about that? It was interesting to find out, about the conflict.
Jack, it wasn't me that done it. Okay. I'm just being clear here. I don't play football.
No. Oh, absolutely. But it was just that understanding. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Yeah. About the acceptance of the situation. That was a big word, because I went straight round to him then, and because I knew what the conflict was. As soon as you started talking about conflicts, and what it could have been, I realised what the conflict could have been for that, and went round and spoke to him. And but saying, because anger is a thing, with him it can be, bless him.
Yeah.
And but he doesn't push it down. I mean, if he's angry, he's angry. And yes, that's another thing to speak about, really, because not to judge the anger. It is good, obviously, in he can he doesn't show it in an aggressive way. He just is angry. He doesn't take it out on anyone.
Yeah, it's that frustration, not being able to get your own way.
Yes.
Straight at it yourself. Yeah, sure. And obviously,
sorry.
Carry on, Jackie.
Just saying to him about acceptance was a big thing, I think. Accepting situations rather than trying to change them, because sometimes we just can't.
Yeah, that's a really hard thing when you're young and you're fit and you're active and you want to get back out there again, and your whole passion is playing the game. It's hard. He did well if they could get some form of acceptance on that. And everything with the musculoskeletal system, is always self-worth, always. And again, self-worth issues are universal. Anyone without any self-worth issues in one area of their life or not, it's universal. Whether that's self-judgment on a self, or self-judgment as in we believe we let someone down, or we're letting someone down, or not good enough, or whatever it is. So the whole musculoskeletal system, including the lymph, including the blood, including the bones, cartilage, tendons, there's always a self-worth issue underneath the injury, the break, whatever it is. So it's good to resolve them sooner rather than later, to be honest.
And that can always come up, because self-worth, we can always doubt ourselves. As much as we know, we can always doubt ourselves, can't we?
Yeah, I always wanted to write a book called Cut Yourself Some Slack, really.
Oh.
Because it makes life a lot easier.
What do you say about anger? Because no emotion is bad, is it? Or good?
emotion is emotion. The very word emotion means energy in motion. It's meant to be moving. But when we can't express it in the way we want to, I come from the west coast of Scotland, so anger is part of the deal. Sorry to any west coast of Scotland people on here. It's sort of part of our makeup. And it took me a long time to bring that down. And, and for me, if I get angry, I just want to express it. And then it's done. And it's just how it is. But I try and be gentle nowadays and anyone else around me.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I'm in a relationship with someone, I say, look, it's not you personally, it's this computer, it's this laptop, or this, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm just frustrated at myself because I can't do something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But again, that's the realization, the awareness, and then the acceptance, I guess.
And then go away and get angry at something or other. It's okay.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you about as well was coffee, because you said, I'm sure on one of the days that I was with you, you said about coffee, you'd rather have a strong coffee than a paracetamol if you've got a headache. Am I right in saying you said that?
Are there any medical people in the room?
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah.
Coffee's, teasing Jackie. Coffee's good. Now, let's separate two things here. One, normal health, okay? Emergency situations. Whether that emergency is mild, like a headache. Now, someone's got a headache, they've gone mild. What do you mean mild? A mild situation or an extreme situation is all on the emergency side, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So something's happened, it's given us symptoms. Let's class that as an emergency. It's not in the normal frame of health, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people say, well, I wouldn't touch coffee because it's bad for you, it's drying, whatever it is. Now, when you're dealing with a challenging situation, you don't behave in the same way as you would under normal health, okay? I love coffee, okay? I have 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day. I'm good. I'm happy. If I had a headache, I would have a double espresso, first port of call, because it's a diuretic. Now, the headache is minuscule little droplets of water and specific brain relays pressed on the skull. That's the pain. And you really want to get that out. So you either want to have ice packs in the head, sitting mostly upright, black coffee, or if you can't tolerate coffee, high dose vitamin C would do the trick because it's stimulative,
Mm-hmm.
or any stimulative herbs. If there's any herbalists around, I can advise you in that. Or my other favourite port of call for any physical pain or swelling is Epsom salt baths.
Yes.
Epsom salt baths are gold dust. Just warm. I want to make that clear. Just warm, not hot. If you're working with a naturopath, then you would potentially have a hot bath as a cleanse to stimulate movement, to stimulate the lymph and do whatever you do. But to reduce the water in the body and the specific brain relay connected to what anywhere, any organs in the body, you want the water as a diuretic. If you look at almost every painkiller, there's caffeine in it.
Yes.
So whether they know this or not, or whether they know it works. So it's to get that extra water out. Now, I know lots of people would say, well, when you get a headache, you drink more water. No, please. That's health. This is a challenging situation. You can't always do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, especially when it comes to migraines. The migraines and headaches are different things altogether. And of course, anyone who suffers migraines will tell you, of course. And the migraines, sorry, I'll just go back to the headache just for a second. I just want to clear this up here. Yeah. So the migraines are actually, the headaches, sorry, are part of a healing symptom, strangely enough. And of course, you don't want the headache. Of course, you don't want the symptoms. Of course not. But it's a healing symptom. Now, it could be any organ or tissue in the body that's in healing, but it could also be a self-worth conflict connected to the intellect, the skull. And, excuse me, so either way around, the headache is there. So the best thing to do is notice immediately when the headache come on and look for, or ask this other question, what did I resolve before this headache come on? Or get triggered into oh, I'm stupid, I can't do that, or being criticized, being judged, or whatever, connected to the intellect. I'm not smart enough, I'm not as smart as my sister, my brother, my whoever. Excuse me. But the migraines are a whole different thing. The actual conflict for the migraine is I have no control over this situation. It's dangerous. Now, dangerous is relative to that person at that moment in time. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean to say life and death, but it means it's dangerous. It could be their status, their livelihood, their reputation, whatever it is that is danger. So with the migraine, that's actually is definitely a healing symptom, but it's usually the healing crisis that's the worst. And it can have other symptoms as well, like a visual, an eye thing, digestive thing going on, different conflicts, part of the same story. So the migraine as well, 100% double espressos. Just warm Epsom salt bath, just warm. And have a look at what just changed. And again, when something's chronic, this is where it gets a bit confusing. When something originally it's a healing symptom, when something's chronic, you just step in a track. Like say, for instance, you've got a bully boss at work, or someone on your shoulder, or the fear of someone finding out you're a fraud, you don't know what you're doing, or you don't believe you're good enough or as good as or whatever. Excuse me. And that's super common, especially office environments. So it's very common, as in would be, I think it used to be termed the secretary's weekend migraine. So during the week, they're in that stress, literally try to keep the head above water, the fear of being judged or found out, you know. And then Friday night comes, migraine.
That makes sense.
Now they've got a migraine for the weekend because they're out of that stress. Now the body's got a chance to go, oh, healing symptom. And then Sunday night, they get ready to go back to work again, got the thoughts in the mind. The migraine could ease, or maybe it's been going on for so long, it just, might not. But initially it would have done, because now they're back in that stress again. So, but this is why with all my clients and everyone I work with or speak with, we have to be aware of our circumstances that changed. My question always is, what just changed before the circumstance, before the symptom showed up? And that's the circumstances, not how you feel about it. Because the feeling is a symptom, is a reaction to what happened. Always look for the black and white factual circumstances. Who did I speak to? What did I hear? What did I read? What did I see? Especially nowadays on social media, my gosh. I remember back in the old days, Jackie, when you actually had to go out to meet someone physically.
We need to get onto that, really. Yeah, for anyone watching this that is wanting a lovely romantic or meaningful relationship, what would your advice be? But what I will just say before we go on to that, I've only ever had, to my knowledge, one migraine, and you just answered that for me, because I had just gone down to Christchurch to a cacao ceremony.
Cacao, all right, okay, got chocolate.
Yeah, cacao ceremony. I'd never done one before, and I took this chocolate stuff, and on the way and not only that, they did that. Well, for me, it was horrendous. It was that dancing like no one's watching. And on the way home, I've never had a headache like it. I don't know how I drove home. And I think that must have been a self-worth thing, because I did not want to do this dance thing, like no one's watching. I wonder if that was a resolve, because I'd got away from there and I'll never want to do that again, like that type of thing.
Potentially. And it could have been any way around, connected to an old memory, an old story. We get triggered in old memories. It could be, you felt out of depth, you felt that you were doing it wrong, or you felt being judged, or, I
Well, I was judging myself, definitely.
yeah, absolutely. Especially when you put in the spot in front of all those other people.
Yeah, yeah.
One of my best friends, Yao, he teaches dance. And he's always saying to me, come to your dance, come to the dance. And I'm like, it's not my thing, Yao. It's just not my thing. I can do a constipated frog in a blender routine, but dance is just not my thing. I sort of dance on my motorbike. Apart from that, it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would certainly feel uncomfortable. I have done, 5 rhythms and stuff, and I've put myself there just for the experience.
Exactly.
I
Yeah, I
love
didn't realise that would be asked of us.
Yeah, I think cacao ceremonies are great as well.
Oh, they are. Yeah, I've done one since. Obviously, didn't have to do dancing afterwards, and it was beautiful. I mean, it was a real perfect ceremony. It was beautiful, but that one, yeah, was just a shock, I guess. Anyway, yeah. So for anyone that would like a meaningful relationship in the midlife, and they're self-conscious of different symptoms that they might have or whatever, what's your advice around all that, Bill?
Physical symptoms, you mean, Jackie?
Well, I mean, what does stop us from, because I know someone said with a man you'd have to be 45, 49%. A man would look at it, as long as he's 49% perfect, he'll go out and look for a relationship. But a woman would have to be 98.9 or so, something ridiculous.
I don't know who said that, but there may be some truth in it. So yeah, and obviously, again, you go back to a woman's identity is really important, how she feels about herself. Women in general, and I mean in general here, okay?
Yeah.
Women in general suffer the self-worth issues more. Men suffer the insecurity issues. Now, I just want to mention this here while we're here, because it's just super, super common for women I work with who are on the dating sites or try to meet people, guys offline, online, whatever. And they keep attracting the numpties, the plonkers, the time wasters, the users, and all these sort of people. Now, this is why it's really good to feel reasonably, to do whatever we have to do to feel reasonably good about self before you get involved in that scene, because again, back to the unconscious energy we send out, that's going to be reflected back to us by the people we meet and their behaviour. Mm-hmm. Now, if a woman with a self-worth issue, or heaven forbid, any past abuse story running, then that's going to attract an abusive man. Maybe not, certainly not to the same degree that it used to be, but when that energy is still running and that stuff's not resolved, then they're going to attract the abusive man, or at the very least, the insecure man. Now, the only way an insecure man can feel good is to put everyone else down because of their insecurities. You'll never see an insecure man get out with a really confident woman. It ain't going to happen. It just ain't going to happen. One, energetically, they couldn't attract each other anyway. And two, he couldn't stand it. He'd run a mile. Because a good man who's comfortable in his own skin wants to lift people up.
Yes.
Wants to help them be the best and see the best in them. Compliments and praise and acknowledgement and being there. An insecure man, that ain't his game. So it's really good for a woman to do the best you can to feel as good about herself as you can. And this is why I've written on the blogs and the website, and this is why I've written 2 ebooks. One of them's got an audiobook as well. The 5 biggies. Is it 5 biggies? Yeah. Self-confidence, self-worth, self-judgment, self-sabotage, and self-punishment. I've written the ebook and the audiobook and that, because it's just super common, unfortunately. And back in the olden days, we used to meet people in village halls and dances and through our families or through work. So it was a whole different place altogether. And you got time to get to know people. Nowadays, it's different. So we just have to move along with the times if we have to. So, but however we feel about ourselves is going to be reflected back to us in the people we meet. Then we have to look at our past story, our past memories, our past experiences and say, okay, what type of guys have I been attracting? And think, I don't like that reflection too much. Because again, it's easy to get into the blaming game. Really easy. Or the judgment game on themselves. So definitely have to look at all of this stuff. And that's why it's so important to deal with this. Because what women also don't understand is that, and men as well, by the way, we have something called emotional maturity stops. Now, those emotional maturity stops are okay as long as we understand them in ourselves and other people. Okay. Now, those emotional maturity stops are beneficial in some ways, and they're a nightmare in relationships in other ways. Now, the emotional maturity stop happens when someone has a couple of big conflicts, traumas, call them what you like, in early years. Okay. Now, what happens is, if we don't resolve those conflicts, we get stuck at that age emotionally. And if we don't resolve them by the time of 25, which is when we become an adult in nature, then we're stuck with that emotional immaturity. So when someone steps on the track and gets triggered, they're going to behave like the 7-year-old, the 10-year-old, the 14-year-old, throwing the big tantrums and the dummy out the pram. And you're looking at an adult thinking, what the heck have I done? And also because if someone's emotionally immature, they'll find it really hard to have relationships or to commit in relationships, or they'll really struggle with things like responsibility, whether that be money or any other way. So, but the gift of the emotional maturity stop is, if you wanted to be a nursery nurse, are fantastic because children will love you. You'll be great around children, and they're good fun to be around as long as they're not getting triggered, as long as you understand. A lot of my friends have emotional maturity stops, as I have myself. I'm 14, really. So, and it's okay. It's okay because I understand it.
Yes.
And so it's all right. So,
For anyone that would like to meet someone, is it really like they'd need to see a coach or a relationship? Well, they wouldn't need to, but is that an ideal way of really for understanding themselves and get that awareness of where their blocks are?
yeah, and to resolve those blocks, that's super, super, super important. Because if the same stuff keeps happening, again, it's that unconscious energy and how we feel about ourselves. Because we'll only attract people that we believe we deserve. And if we don't believe unconsciously we deserve that much, that's a problem. Big problem. And really it's about feeling as good about ourselves as we can. That's really the key. And obviously I work with people one-to-one and in a whole, and the whole area is set up as a whole course with 140 videos on there and stunning content.
Absolutely. I've looked at the website today. I wanted to bring it up, but if I just go to full screen for you a minute, and I'll try and bring your website up so that I can share the screen, Bill.
Okay, sure.
Lovely. And while I do that, if I just say a couple more things.
Yeah, sure.
Vitamins and minerals. I heard someone was saying about how many fish oil tablets he takes. Yeah, and vitamins and minerals. Can you just confirm, do you think we need those? If you can talk on that, what you think about that, will I just look for your website?
It's really personal, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's I'm really good friends and have been for a long time with naturopaths and very knowledgeable people. And if it reassures you and makes you feel more comfortable, and if you feel good, absolutely fine. Fine. I'm probably the wrong person to ask, Jackie, because I don't take any.
Oh, that's what I thought, because Heidi was saying that she used to take loads before she met you, and now she doesn't take any.
Sure. For me, it's really important to feel good. Even if, say, for instance, I've worked with different people over the years whose diets have been squeaky clean, super knowledgeable people. Okay, they've got digestive issues. They should not have digestive issues, but they're running in a place of fear. Now, we can, I know lots of people talk about being alkaline rather than acidic, and the belief that acidic causes cancer and all that sort of stuff. I'm not even going there. Now, we could eat the healthiest food on the planet, but if we're in any fear whatsoever, food's not going to benefit us whatsoever. So it's really important, and this is why, back in the old days, and I know the porno as well, but Dr. Hugh Len speaks about, blessing your food and appreciation. Appreciation is the closest energy to love, closest vibration to love.
Yes.
It's the most beautiful gift that we have. And thankfully, we have this gift as well. And I know Esther Hicks and different people talk about this all the time.
Oh,
Is that
Esther Hicks, yes.
beautiful? Our emotions are our guidance system, how we feel, and just making those slight shifts, and also having things in place that help us to feel good, and people around us to make us feel good. And because that connection to other human beings is just super, 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 super important. And connection to our source, whatever that is, to whoever. And because our emotions are going to not just how do I feel, why? Because here's the thing, our emotions never, ever, ever, did I say ever change without a reason. Ever. Our health never changes without a reason. Ever. Now, I know some people talk about the genes and all that sort of stuff, but how I say in my workshops is that the only thing that runs in your genes is diarrhea. Sorry.
That is true. We've got it in. It's like catching a cold. You can hear this every day. People say, "Oh, so and so got a cold at work. I'll get a cold now." I was in the car with someone the other day. They had a cold. I bet I'll get a cold now. It's our belief, is it, that would catch the cold? It's not the fact that we're with someone that would catch the cold.
That fear will do a number on you. And when you think, oh, thank goodness I didn't catch it, because a cold and a flu are just healing symptoms. Okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the only difference between a cold and a flu is that the cold is a conflict in our territory. Our territory is anything from our body outwards that's important to us. And we have a conflict going on. Maybe the in-laws have come to stay, or maybe there's new neighbours in, or maybe there's something going on at work, or maybe they've got a stressful situation, they're moving house, the job, whatever it is. And to resolve that, then they go, like cold. The only difference between the cold and the flu is if it's a smaller conflict, either duration or intensity, it's a cold. If it's a bigger conflict, either more intense or longer duration, it's a flu. That's it. It's a healing symptom. And of course, you don't want it, but I just want to mention a couple other things, Jackie,
Okay.
Symptoms. That's okay, just for a second.
Sorry, I just had that ready. I'm just going to say datinginsidesecrets.com. Ready to finally meet a good man. But I'll just say the amount of information on this website is incredible. It really is.
There's a lot in there. And open up the blogs and it takes you further and to avail yourself of the ebooks and audiobook and it's all good. I just want to mention a couple other symptoms that women are very, very common for women, as in stopping a woman dating or feeling uncomfortable.
Yes.
It could be skin issues, eczema type symptoms, psoriasis, or these type of symptoms. They're all separation contact issues and all resolvable, by the way. They have things like cystitis, which is super uncomfortable, super common among teachers, because this really is about boundary, being able to mark your space, literally. There's someone stepped over the line, someone's taken the piss, literally. And super common among teachers and people like that in those professions because they've got everyone in the space, children, parents, Ofsted, other teachers, headmaster. And then the term ends, oh no, cystitis. Oh, they go on holiday. Oh no, symptoms. The healing symptoms. So again, anything with itis at the end is a healing symptom. But when it becomes chronic, just get triggered. Like bronchitis, laryngitis, tonsillitis, cystitis, anything else. Anything with itis at the end, inflammation, swelling. And I know lots of people say inflammation is a cause, symptom.
So it's a healing symptom, but so what's the resolve? Like, I know that's starting to resolve, but if you don't know that it's starting to resolve, is there a way it can resolve quicker to get better from it?
This is where you would take anything natural that eases some of the symptoms. As soon as we take pharmaceutical drugs, we stop the symptoms, and then that stops the healing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
you. I'm just going to share the screen again because I found these today. I just thought you'd like these. When you see something beautiful in someone, tell them. It may take a second to say, but for them, it could last a lifetime.
Beautiful.
Isn't it?
Beautiful.
And the other one, oh no, not that one. I'll have to go back and find the one that I wanted to share with you. Stop. Ooh. Just show you this one as well. Every family has one weird relative. If you don't know who it is, it's probably you. I just thought that was a funny one.
I've always wanted to write a board game called, design a board game called Dysfunctional Families.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Everyone could relate to it.
I went to an NLP workshop once, and the chap there said 85% of all families are dysfunctional in some respect. And I said, what would the 15% look like that's not? He said, well, there's not really. What a weird thing.
Yeah, there's not as many, unfortunately. And that stuff just gets handed down from generation to generation. And if it wasn't for families, I wouldn't have any clients.
Wow, yeah, there is that as well. But it's just this awareness that we're coming into more awareness of how things affect us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. People, places and things, circumstances, and more importantly, how we perceive the circumstances in that moment and how we perceive them is depending on a past story until we change it.
Yes. I've got this written down here. You know, we said about coffee. When I went to a flat earth evening last week, because once a month there's a flat earth thing in Bournemouth, and the girls there were saying that that coffee makes you dumb. And that's why there's so many Costas and Starbucks around. But that's not the case, is it? Is that where you discern for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of information out here. Tons.
Exactly. Discern for yourself.
Yeah. Being selective.
And anger. Grief. The other thing I was going to say about grief. Could you talk a bit about grief and how that can affect us?
Grief, I actually don't work with people with grief, strangely enough.
Wow.
Not because I don't care, because it's a natural process. And again, it's about being soft and gentle on herself. But the most important thing I've found, and I have worked with people with grief, don't get me wrong, but if anyone wants to work specifically with grief, I'll pass them on to someone else that I trust who's qualified in that field. Now, but the biggest stumbling block with the grief is the self-judgment. I should have done this, or I should have done that, or I wish I'd done this, or I wish I'd done that, or whatever. But it also depends, obviously, how someone passed. If someone passed of old age, that's hard enough. But if it's someone that's taken tragically for an accident, suddenly, unexpectedly, or heaven forbid, a parent losing a child, I can't imagine how traumatic that is. And so that's a whole different place altogether. But there's other people that are really good at working.
Oh, absolutely. Grief counsellors you can get.
So there's so much respect for them.
Absolutely. I don't know if we just mention that one, because there was that you talked about, or you might have said from Dr. Well, anyway, the doctor that you like, he did all those ladies that he saw that had ovarian cancer, and that was all from the grief of someone close to them within 2 years.
There's a profound loss conflict, and a profound loss just means that it's either a person or a pet, not a thing, person or a pet, because people care for the pets as a children, really, or the partners, whatever way. That profound loss means they're not coming back, or even the fear of them not coming back. So what happens is, depending on the right or the left, and depending on the relationship with that person, and without getting into that, because I know I'm just aware of time, Jackie, is that there'll be a cyst that will form on one of the ovaries. So that cyst in nature is actually a good thing, a really, really, really good thing, because it takes 9 months to injury it become fully hard. So it actually becomes, eventually, it becomes like on its own strand, its own blood supply, and its own feed, and it becomes another ovary. So now a woman's got 3 ovaries. Now she's going to produce more estrogen. So a woman with an ovarian cyst was going to look 15 years younger. So it's really beneficial. Now, it's a hard way to get it, obviously with a profound loss type situation. But again, the important part with anyone with ovarian cyst, which would be diagnosed as cancer, and strangely enough, at least 70, maybe more of our cancer diagnoses are healing symptoms, tragically. So, but I don't want to get too far into this, but the only complication potentially with the cyst is the healing phase keeps getting interrupted, step in a track, with that profound loss conflict, or mechanically you can bang into some sharp objects or something, or the most important thing I ever talk about is the water retention with one part of the kidneys, 3 different parts, but one part. Now that water retention will fill up the cyst, it'll fill up any cyst, and potentially it could burst, or it'll take longer to heal, it'll slow down healing, or even stop it. So we have to deal with that excess water. And so again, Epsom salt baths, coffee, being in the sea is awesome. Good luck to all the brave people that go in the sea this time of year. My gosh, you're braver than me.
That wouldn't be me.
Oh, with me either. I'll play chicken. So, but being in the sea is awesome, as long as you don't have any drowning conflicts in your psyche. Then, because in salt water, everyone wants to pee, and it's really, really good. So, if you have water retention, get in salt water, not table salt, obviously, Epsom salts or rock salt or something like that. A really big handful in the bath, really big handful, and just cover yourself up to your stomach or whatever, and soak in there 20 minutes, half an hour, as long as you want, really, and to diminish some of that water, to get some of that water out. So
The
in
good thing is when you get that symptom, you know that you're recovering.
absolutely, but here's a problem in the medical system. Unfortunately, tragically, they save lives in accident and emergency. But apart from that, it's a real fear-based system.
Absolutely.
Really fear-based system. And I can't really say what I want to say publicly on video,
Yeah.
but it's not the most optimistic place to be.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot. Oh, because about taking the telephone in was such a good thing that you said. You know, if you're going in for any sort of diagnosis, we can say that, can't we, Bill?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you're going in for any diagnosis, Bill says to take a telephone in and say, you don't mind me recording this because you've got every right to. And then the way it's said to you will be so much nicer.
Absolutely. It changes. So press record in the audio, not a video, audio before on your phone. When you say telephone, I just get this picture of dragging this big black telephone from home with the cord on it. You know, telephone. It's great. I love it. So with the phone, just press record audio before you walk through the door. And as you walk through the door, you go up to the doctor's desk, put the phone in the desk and say, you don't mind if I record this, do you? I'm really stressed right now and I can't remember anything. Go and sit down. Don't wait for a reply. Now, the reason being, it's not you and them, none of that nonsense. It's about being respectful, and that could actually save your life. Because any diagnosis shock or prognosis shock that we believe is a danger to our life is like hitting us like a sledgehammer. What that does to our psyche is major, really major. And that can instigate that fear that we're going to die, or it will instigate all those old memories or of people we know who get diagnosed with that ailment and they're not here anymore. And so, but when that phone is sitting there's two things. One, just imagine those words, just visualize those words going onto the phone. Don't listen to them. Even take someone with you that won't get triggered to be there with you as well, to ask questions. And what it also does, it puts the doctor on the back foot or the consultant on the back foot, where they're more respectful of what they say and how they present the information, because they know it's getting recorded and they know that's admissible in a court of law. And they don't know who they're going to share it with. So it's really about being respectful to yourself. Super, super, super important. In fact, one couple who I know who already, before they found this out, had a consultant arranged in London, and the couple had been for neurological issues to this consultant twice before. Really rude and male hierarchy stuff. And basically calling them stupid if they didn't go along with this or whatever. And they went in this time after finding this information out, and they did that, put the phone in, and they come back out laughing their heads off. And the word both said to each other, he's had a lobotomy.
I actually goosed it that, so that's the truth. I mean, really, that's how important that is, that information.
But it could save your life.
Yes. Yes.
Super.
When I heard you say it, I mean, I've told so many people because I just find, you know, yeah, Dave that came along, he went in thinking it was all fine because they'd not phoned him. So he phoned them and said, shall I come and get the results? And when they went there, they were talking as if he already knew what the diagnosis was, and it wasn't good. And that was a major shock to him. It was just...
Yeah, it's really hard for people, and I feel for them because this is why I run the workshops, Jackie, to help people understand how our relationships affect our health in really specific ways.
Honestly, Thank you so much for sharing all this tonight, Bill. And I
Absolutely.
highly recommend anyone looking at Bill's website. Yeah, I'll post that link under this video. Thank you so much, Bill.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you for asking me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Lovely. I'll see you again soon, no doubt.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Thanks, anyone watching.